feel like I've never even had a full college, and this is going into my 6th year. I've never played a full college basketball season. I mean, you could say my freshman year, the tournament got canceled. Sophomore year, we only played 20 games because of the COVID. Missed the first 10 games of my junior year, missed the last 10 games, 15 games of my senior year. So I've never had a full college basketball season, and I'm just so excited to finally have it.
This is the Sean Miller Podcast, presented by Deer Park Roofing. Now, here's your hosts, Paul Fritchner and Adam Baum, with the head coach of the Xavier Musketeers, Sean Miller.
Hello, friends. Welcome back to another episode of the Sean Miller Podcast. My name is Adam Baum, joined as always by Sean Miller, head coach of the Xavier Musketeers. And before we get to our guest, the elephant in the room, once again, young Paul Fritchner. He's off gallivanting around in the midst of wedding season. No, this one's actually special, though. It's his bachelor party. As we mentioned a few shows ago, he's getting married next month.
But it's always a wedding, right? It's always something fun. You know, it's kind of like fun when you think of Paul Fritchner. I think the more we go here, the more people are going to see that if you could come back in life to be somebody, you would consider being Paul Fritchner, because he just seems to kind of have it down pat, where he's disappearing from work for a wedding, a bachelor party, someone else's bachelor party, now his own bachelor party, loves to attend multiple weddings of other people. He sometimes is in the wedding. He has his own wedding this summer. So yeah, I mean, we're going to move ahead without him for sure.
Yeah, and if I know anything about Paul, he's celebrating responsibly right now down in the great state of Florida. As always, you know, we want to thank our sponsors, Deer Park Roofing, the official payroll sponsor of the Sean Miller Podcast, payroll partners, and our good friends at TGE Solar. We can't thank them enough for all of their support. But to the man of the hour, to my right here is Zach Freemantle, a guy who's been in a Xavier uniform for a long time. But I think the most logical place to start this episode is to give people a little bit of a background. You know, you're about to embark on your 6th year in college basketball. Let's take people back and remind them of this journey that you've been on. You're a guy from New Jersey, out of Bergen Catholic. So walk us back through the beginning of your college career, getting recruited, deciding on Xavier, and then we'll kind of take it step by step to where we are today.
And Zach, I would just say, like, you had really good choices leaving high school. You were recruited at a high level. You know, the starting point to that question is, you know, what made you decide on Xavier?
Okay, well, the thing is, I didn't start getting highly recruited. I started getting very lowly recruited, I guess it would be how you'd say that.
Yeah.
But then I started, my first offer was Monmouth in New Jersey. I didn't really get any high major offers till this summer going into my senior year. I didn't have anything. But then, you know, Peach Jam and all that stuff blew up. And I remember Coach Steele texting me, I'm the coach at Xavier. That was the year y'all came off the 1 seed. So when I got that text, I was like, oh.
Right.
But yeah, no, I mean, we had some good schools in there. We had, I think my final 5 was here, Pitt, Tennessee, Boston College, and then Princeton, because my dad wanted me to go to Princeton. But really, the thing that just made me come here was the recruiting the coaches did to me. I had Steele and an assistant calling, texting every day. Like, no other school wanted me the way Xavier wanted me. And when I got on campus for my visit, it was just like every star in the universe aligned. Like, it just felt like this is where I needed to be. So it was a really simple decision for me.
So you come to Xavier, you're in the Big East. For everybody, because we all lose track of when COVID and the pandemic hit, during your career, your freshman year was business as usual. Like you said, a year earlier, Xavier's a 1 seed, JP and Trayvon, and it was like magic. Xavier won the Big East regular season championship. You're now on the next team afterwards. Coach Steele obviously took over, and you became a part of the all Big East freshman team, which, especially back then, Zach, I feel like that might have been even more meaningful simply because there wasn't the older people in college basketball. Like, that was still when everybody was coming from high school, entering college, and then a lot of times guys would leave college early to become a part of the NBA or wherever, right? What do you remember about your freshman year?
I just remember, you know, I looked up to Tyreek a lot. I remember a lot of what he did. Him and Najee, of course, and Paul, all them, you know, they was all great players. So it was really just a year of me just trying to figure out how I could coexist with them because, you know, they had what they was going on. And, you know, I was the first one off the bench for most of the year, and towards the end, I started starting. We had some things happen with our point guard and whatnot. So I started starting, and I was just always trying to find a way to play like myself, but also compliment everyone around me because we had such good players around me.
What was the biggest thing that caught you by surprise that, let's say, you didn't expect leaving high school and now you're a freshman, not only in college, but playing in the Big East Conference and having a prominent role? Like when you think back to it, what is it that you didn't know until you did it?
Honestly, it wasn't anything on the court for me. Because basketball is basketball. The way my high school coach would run his practices and everything, I was pretty ready for all the college basketball stuff. I didn't realize how much like Xavier fans cared about Xavier basketball. Like that's what shocked me when I got here. Like Bergen Catholic's a huge football school. I mean, the Northeast is a pretty big basketball area, so basketball is big. But I've never experienced like such a passion for a team. Yeah. Like unless you're talking about the New York Yankees. Like that's what I would. Yeah. So it was shocking to me how much they cared.
Yeah. I remember two things from your freshman year. Number one was, you know, your first really big game experience was right out there on that court in the Crosstown Shootout. I can't remember what your stat line was, what your numbers were, but I do remember sitting in my media seat and I tweeted something along the lines of, man, if this is Zach Freemantle's big game mentality as a freshman in the Crosstown Shootout, like, man, what a player he's going to be. Like, you really impressed me in that game. And then later on in the year, you're playing St. John's at Madison Square Garden. You hit a game winner. And I remember there's a GIF of you on the internet of Tyreek just pushing you all the way down the court. Those are some pretty cool moments.
Oh, for sure, for sure. I mean, Crosstown Shootout, there's nothing like it. The one thing I remember from that game, actually, is at one point during the second half, we had a pretty solid lead. Like, we kind of knew we were going to win. And Coach still came to me. He was like, I'm going to let the seniors rock. Like, you're done. I was like, that's fair. That's fair. You let them have their moment and whatnot. Yeah. But, no, I mean, of course. It's just a great atmosphere in any of those big games.
Yeah, and then, you know, you're healthy that whole year, and you parlay a really good freshman year into a sophomore year when something else happens, the COVID pandemic.
Well, first things first, remember, there's no NCAA tournament for Zach's team as a freshman. You know, none of us, whether you thought you were going to be in the tournament, on the bubble, nobody truly knows who would have made it and what would have happened. That ended, and so anyone that was a part of that year wasn't able to experience the NCAA tournament. Now you're in this summer that I don't know if any of us can really describe. I mean, you probably were home in New Jersey and just isolated.
I was here the whole time. I was in the Commons the entire time. We they actually gave me a whole room to myself. So we turned the living room into a weight room. There's like a hill outside behind the Commons. I would go up there. I would run. I would do stuff like that. And then me and one of our GAs at the time actually went to somebody's backyard to get shots up. But I was here the whole time. I was
outside
here the whole time.
shooting.
Yeah.
Wearing a mask, right? All the stuff.
All that.
So then it begins as a sophomore. But I think it's important, Zach, like at this point, you're completely healthy. Freshman year, you get through the entire off season, and now, you know, we get through, you know, the shortened pandemic season, no fans or limited fans. But sophomore year, if you had to describe what it felt like to play in that year as a sophomore under those conditions, what do you remember?
That was definitely an interesting year. It was really weird practicing with a mask on. We had the things that just you pulled up and down. And all that was weird. Personally, I was never like affected, whether it's huge crowd, empty crowd, didn't really matter to me. You know, basketball is always going to be basketball. But yeah, no, it was just weird. All the protocols, waking up at 7 in the morning to get tested so we could have the result in time for everything, whether you can go to class or not and all that. It was just a really weird time. And it just felt like you didn't have much control over certain things.
Yeah. So now we're in year 3. By the way, year 1 and year 2, it's been crazy with the pandemic, no tournament, but you're healthy. And now we get into your 3rd year. Fans are now back. The NCAA tournament, it's not only on, but now everyone's looking forward to like returning to normalcy as much as you can. Yeah. What happened to you there in year 3?
I mean, back in August, we were just, you know, in workouts and whatnot, and when I just started feeling something in my foot, got it x-rayed and all that. The result was a stress fracture, stress reaction. And we decided, I'll sit out for a while, try to make this get better on its own. And after about 4 or 5 weeks of me doing nothing and it just not getting better, we decided the best option would be to get the surgery and go from there.
Which took you out of pretty much the entire non-conference season or almost?
The majority of the non-conference season. I missed like the first, I would say 9 games out of maybe 11 in non-con, something like that.
I don't think people understand as an athlete, especially in a college basketball season, how difficult it is to try to make a comeback or return to play during the season. If you get hurt in the second half, that pretty much you end up missing the rest of it, but you don't have to worry about returning to practice, returning to team's chemistry, locker room, et cetera, right? Because I think the hardest part when you're injured, Zach, is the isolation of it. Yeah. Everybody tries to make you feel a part of things, but you're not. You don't put the uniform on. You don't practice. You're on your own a lot doing your rehab protocol. At first, your rehab and protocol is don't do anything. Yeah. And it's that isolation, and you do the best you can. But when you think about yourself going from not playing, rehabbing, and then returning to play in that third year, what stands out? If you were somebody that was injured and you have to return to play, what advice would you give them, or what stands out when you had to do that part of it?
First and foremost, take the most time you can. Like, there's no reason to ever rush. You're talking about your career. I guess maybe like if it's a situation where it's your last year, you're not going to play, then maybe rush. But other than that, like if you're trying to keep playing, don't let anybody rush you for anything. It'll always be the best case scenario to just get it all the way healthy. Because I wouldn't say anyone pressured me to come back or anything like that. But I pressured myself. I just wanted to get back, and I was like, probably came back a little too fast.
Right, yeah, eager, and it's so difficult, man. In the true moment of eagerness of ready to play, it's easy to reflect back on it now. But when you're in it, you just like, look, if I wait another week, I'm going to miss 2 more games. And then, by the way, I'm going to be in Big East season, and I'm not going to have a rhythm. And by the way, I have to want to start. I want to play well. Like I've had 2 great years, so I don't want to come back and just be average. Yeah. I think that's incredibly difficult. And then obviously the coaching change happens, and we've already talked to Colby about this, but when you think of the NIT, walk us through your feelings about what you remember about the NIT.
Well, first of all, first game, it was a really close game when it shouldn't have been, which is what got
Cleveland State.
Cleveland State. Yeah. Paul got hurt. Coach Steele got fired. And that was that. And then I remember the first practice we had, I slept through.
I remember this.
I slept through the first practice Coach Hayes held. I didn't mean to. Like, it was complete accident. It was the first time I've ever slept through a practice. And so then that's why I came off the bench for the whole NIT run. Because I slept through that. He wanted to send a message. But honestly, like, I ended up I was playing pretty well in the NIT and whatnot. And I remember that St. Bonaventure's game because, that's in New York. They brought
a ton of fans.
Like, way more fans were at the St. Bonaventure's game than were at the championship game. Yep. And I remember that game very well. But I just feel like the NIT run it was good for the program. Overall, it had a lot of benefits for the program.
Zach, Colby talked a lot about, just that in and of itself, whether you guys even needed to talk about it amongst each other, that you started to think about, look, we've been together through a thick and thin. We've gone through COVID, gone through a coaching change. Man, we went through a lot. And then if we stick together and come back, and we could really have a special team next year, that special group. Do you think about that just in terms of that, because of that NIT run and that experience, that it fueled
Oh, yeah, for sure. It definitely kind of gave us a little springboard. Because, for first and foremost, nobody wants to be in the NIT. Like, you don't want to. But if you're there, you might as well win it. Just winning it definitely kind of had that effect on us. And, we wanted to come back and do something next year.
Yeah. So I become the coach, and as we move forward, start non-conference, and again, now you're back healthy, had a great summer, getting to know a new staff, but your teammates are the same guys for the most part, other than Sule, joining us. And then we get to play a really tough non-conference slate. And And I think that the way I look at that for you, you became more comfortable, you improved. I think you eventually established who you really are as a player, and you were off and running. Because when you played in that year, our record as a team was 17-5. And if you go through the losses, those 5 losses, we're talking about some great teams. You know, Duke in Portland, Gonzaga in Portland, at Creighton. I mean, you know, Creighton was, I think, a 2 or 3 seed that year. But when you really go through it, in the 17 wins we had were all, you know, for the most part, really tough games because we played a tough 22-game schedule. But you're our leading scorer. We finish our non-conference season. We're at the Crosstown Shootout at UC. All those games, Indiana at home, and then we start conference play. 22 games. What are you thinking back to?
Well, it definitely took me a little bit longer than the rest of the team to get, you know, adjusted to the new staff, you know, get my, like, trust up for everybody, which is part of, like, the reason I feel like I had a really bad non-conference season in that part. But yeah, once I got adjusted to everything, I got adjusted to your flow, all that stuff. It felt really, really good. Like everything was flowing. Like,
Right.
You know. And yeah, no, I mean, I love playing with Jack. I love playing with Sule, Kobe, all of them. Like, you know, those are all my guys. They'll always be my guys. But you know, it was a really fun season for the part I got to be at.
He said he had a poor non-conference. I feel like it's my job to point out you did have a triple-double in non-conference.
Well, you didn't have a – and again, I think that's part of your gift and your curse. We all have them. I have a gift and curse. He has a gift and curse. No doubt, me being your coach, your gift and your curse is you could be really hard on yourself. You have high expectations. What it fuels is a crazy love and work ethic for the game of basketball, a competitive spirit. You know, I think one thing, Zach, and I'm looking forward to having you back, is the bigger the game on our schedule, the more excited and the more you look forward to the challenge. I would say that a game you're supposed to win that's not what you would call a big game, that's when a guy like myself would keep one eye on you, because it's not that you don't care, but I think you're more wired for the biggest stage and the brightest lights. And again, you look at the best athletes in any sport, I think that's one common thread that they have. But when you reflect back to the 22 games or the non-conference season, I mean, if you weren't our leading scorer in non-conference play, you were right there. You had a triple-double. You played some great games on the road, at home, playing against some of America's best teams. You're hard on yourself, but and I would also say the at Villanova game, I mean, that was probably one of your career's best games as well.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So you did do some great things through the first 22 games.
Yeah, you did.
But I was going to say, did you recognize through those first 22 games that you were on a team that was leading America and eventually leading America in assists? Like, you think about that, there's 370 teams that play college basketball. To actually have the most assists per game and you be a focal point on that team, it's really a remarkable thing.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. I mean, that was what was special about that team, is we had so many good players who were not selfish with the ball, who knew everybody else could do what they did and were not willing, or were very willing to share the ball. You know,
Right.
Jack was a great passer, Sule was a great pass, Kobe, everybody. I mean,
Yeah. And everyone was willing. And you
Yeah.
and Jack being two guys that are like our front court, you know, one guy's 6'11" or 7 feet tall. Jack, you're 6'9". And both of you guys, if you look at your assist to turnover ratio and your ability to pass, it's what, for me, of all the teams that I've had, I don't know if I ever have or ever will coach a team that was more wired to be able to pass and share the ball than that team. When you're in it, you almost don't realize how good you're doing.
Yeah.
But when you reflect back and you look and say, oh, man, we led America in assist, and we were a tough team. We scored the most points in the Big East. Why? How? And I think Zach was a big part of that.
Yeah, and you mentioned 22 games, and before you got here, me and Zach were sitting here just talking, and the 22nd game, Zach actually brought this up unprompted, that he remembers the date of that game, because that game is the last game that he's played. What was that date?
January 28th in Omaha, Nebraska.
2023.
Yeah. And you, when we talk about when you felt the pain, so now if we're keeping track, you've had the one surgery, and now this is going to move you towards a second surgery. We were at UConn, and if you think about, Zach, what UConn's become the last couple of years, I think we were probably the last team to beat them at UConn. I don't know, maybe Seton Hall, but they haven't lost many games, let alone many home games in 2 years. But you started to feel pain in that game.
I did, yeah. Like, actually, my mom was at the game, so she brought a pair of shoes for me. I had to switch shoes at halftime, which made it a little better. But I felt the pain that game. Got back. I practiced through the whole week. Didn't feel any pain in practice, and then during warm-ups in Creighton, it was cool the day before, shoot around, all that stuff. It was during the warm-ups. I don't know what happened, what I did. It just started hurting real bad, and so I was like, we're already here. I might as well try to play. It's already hurting. It's not like it's gonna get worse. So I did what I could. I couldn't move at all. Couldn't play any defense. I remember Kaluma was just walking to the basket.
I remember saying, man, he's having a bad day on defense.
He was just walking to the basket. Like, I was like, I'm trying, coach. I couldn't do anything. I could not move. But
and then after the game, and it was one of our rare losses. It was a tough game. Creighton was a good team. I walked in and I knew right away, because one thing about a coach, like, you got a good sense of how your players are after games. Who's upset, who isn't upset, who's frustrated, who isn't frustrated. Who's taking a loss like this extra hard. And when I looked at Zach, he had a blank stare on his face, but he had his shoe off. And anytime you take your shoe off and you're waiting for the coach to come in, that's never a good sign. And then from there, if we fast forward it becomes, now we have to have a season-ending surgery. You have to watch again, not in the front end, but now it's a different feeling, because it's not that isolation we just talked about where, how am I going to come back and become a part of this team? Now it's, I'm going to probably miss the rest of the season.
I'm just going to watch and see what they can do. Yeah, no, I mean, that was probably the worst, mental time for me. Just, obviously I'm watching the games and I want y'all to win and everything. And it sucks once y'all get to tournament time and there's nothing I can do.
Yeah.
I remember that first game versus Kennesaw State. I was like, if they lose this game, man, oh my God.
I think he felt similarly.
I mean, I'm sure he did. But I'm just watching it from. I was actually with a couple of friends, because I didn't travel with you, so I had some friends come over. We were watching it in my basement and whatnot, and I just there's no way. Because they really should have won that game. They were up the whole game. Sure. They should have won that game.
Yeah. They know that as well, no doubt. And that's the danger of the tournament. You see in the NBA Finals, think about this, the difference between the NBA and college. If you just judge the Nuggets and the Timberwolves through 2 games, or how about 1 game? The game, by the way, is played on Denver's home court. It's their version of March Madness, right? It's the NBA playoffs, and the Timberwolves are like, wow, they dominated. They won. Yeah. And then there's a day or two in between, and oh my God, they just won the first 2 games of the series on Denver's home court. Well, from an NCAA tournament perspective, that's like a 1 or 2 seed losing in the opening weekend. The difference in the NBA is to win 4 games, to win a 7-game series, it's difficult for the team that's not the best of the 2 teams to win. Like in March Madness, that's not the case. It's the best team on that particular day, and we just talked about it. But, Zach, as a coach, you oftentimes reflect back on your own experience. And for me, playing in college, playing in the Big East, over the highs, the lows, you try to take all those into account to help you become a better coach, I would say. That's how I do it.
Yeah.
And one of the things, I had a season-ending injury. And, when we were talking about back then, hey, let's make sure Zach travels with us, or encourage him to travel with us. And, you just had surgery, you're in a cast, this is your second surgery, you're out for the year. I remember thinking of my own experience, how would I have felt back then if the coach came to me like that? And I would appreciate that they would say that, but deep down, I just need my time by myself. I don't want to be on crutches through an airport. I don't want to be a burden. I don't want to be sitting at shoot around in my hotel. This isn't fun for me. And as much as I try to fake it and be a part of the journey, I just need some time alone. Let me watch it on TV. And I remember telling everyone, you know what? Let him make the choice, because I would be surprised if he would want to travel with us because of what I just said. Because I remember we're in the Big East tournament, Madison Square Garden, And I think the Big East put you in a position to have a suite.
Yeah, they did.
Am I right?
Yeah.
Which was awesome.
I was up in the box watching now. Yeah, get some free
But
food
you're
and
watching
all
even
that. Yeah.
playing 3 games in 3 days. We got to the Big East tournaments championship game, but I remember you were like a celebrity in the suite watching the tournament, and that was the first time that we had seen you in a while. But those are some tough days, man.
No, it definitely was. It definitely was. But you learn a lot from it too. So you always got to find that silver lining.
Looking back, what did you learn from, let's call it, that experience?
I mean, the biggest thing is just not to take anything for granted. Anything could be taken from you at any point in your life. I mean, COVID taught us that too. Like, they can literally shut everything down at any time. So, just enjoy everything you can while you can and just try to make the most of your opportunities.
So now all those guys are leaving. Dungy, Sule, Kunkel, Colby, some other guys that become teammates, Deontay, Kiki. I mean, you look at it, kind of have a brand new group, and now you are going to say, it's going to kind of be my team. And we start moving through the summer, and I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, it's just, we started, it was good through all the workouts and whatnot. I started feeling a little bit of pain before we went down to the Bahamas. And I don't know if I was just doing too much down in the Bahamas or whatnot, but when we got back, we got an MRI, and they said it wasn't looking good. So, they said, you're probably going to have to get the surgery again. And at that point, I was like, yeah, I agreed with them. That was like, the third time was honestly the most, like, I agreed with what the doctors were saying. I was like, you're right. I need to do what y'all are saying. So I went to a different doctor. I didn't have the third one done by the guy who did the first 2. I went to a different doctor down in South Carolina, or down in North Carolina, actually, Charlotte. And he did the operation a little different. It was a little more invasive. It was a little more just stuff thrown at my foot and all that. And so yeah, we decided, we're gonna take the entire year. We're gonna just make sure your foot's good, perfectly good. Because at the end of the day, the goal of my whole life has always been to play basketball after college. So we had to make the decision to do what was best for that. So that's why I redshirted last year. But at the same time, I feel like I've never even had a full college, like, and it was just going into my 6th year. I've never played a full college basketball season. I mean, you could say my freshman year, the tournament got canceled. Sophomore year, we only played 20 games because of the COVID. Missed the first 10 games of my junior year. Missed the last 10 games, 15 games of my senior year. So I've never had a full college basketball season, and I'm just so excited to finally have one.
And what gives me so much confidence is, and again, just so we're clear and everyone who's listening to this understands, the date of your final surgery, and that's what I'm going to call it, the last one, was when?
September 18th.
So September 18th, much different, right? So now surgery in September 18th, the doctor that did your surgery actually operated on Kevin Durant and did a very similar type of surgery. I think KD had almost like a similar, if not, and he had a couple surgeries to get it right.
Yeah, his was 3 surgeries as well. This doctors who did the 3rd surgery did my 3rd surgery. So, yeah.
Yeah, and we won't get into what he did, but clearly I think he kind of built you to last. But what I love about it is that happened mid-September. Here we are in mid-May. We have the month of June, July, that's 2 more months. August, 3 more months, 4 more months. I mean, we're going to cross a year and some change where you've had a chance to truly rest, let it heal, rehab, get your game in order mentally, physically, have a brand new team, take a deep breath. And I think all of our goal, Zach, whether you're a fan of Xavier, your family, you, us, your teammates, is we want this guy to be healthy from start to finish. And I believe it's going to happen. I believe it. We've all kind of walked this journey with you, but nobody more than yourself. It's exciting to think about how different this last one feels because of what you said. We're not going to rush it. We're going to get healthy. And I think in coaching you, where you're at in life, what you've accomplished in the classroom, what you've gone through is like strengthened you in a way that one day, if not already, you look back and say, because I went through all this, man, I never thought I'd say this, but now that I'm on the other side, I'm better, I'm more experienced, I'm wiser than I ever have been before.
Yeah, no doubt. I feel the same way. I've never felt so confident in my foot. Like, and in my own mental capabilities, I just feel I'm just grateful. Like, I'm just happy to be here. I'm thankful to be back on the court, and just gonna use that and never take anything for granted.
Yeah, and you look good, man. I've been coming and watching your workouts. I've seen you getting shots up, and you look healthy. You look motivated, energized, everything that you just said. So I think I have to echo what Coach said. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing you back out there. I think you're going to be a very important piece on a team where there's only one other guy back who you've ever played with, excluding the walk-ons, and that's Jerome.
Yeah.
You haven't played with Davion. You haven't played with Dalen. You haven't played with Trey. All these new guys that came in from the transfer portal. And I know you're probably eager this summer when everyone gets here to start running together and
for sure,
developing that team chemistry. What are you looking forward to from that aspect?
I mean, yeah, the thing I'm looking forward to is just, open runs, getting up some 5-on-5 with the guys. It's been so long since I've went up and down. So I'm so excited for that, and just getting to learn and getting to meet everybody, getting to learn how they are, how they act, how they play. I'm really looking forward to it. Just be a good teammate, make some new friends, all that. I'm very excited.
Adam, two things about Zach. One, you look at him right now, I would say, and I'll probably be on the high side of this, I'll put him at 4% body fat. He might be less. And how much do you weigh?
I'm around like 227 right now.
So what we always talk about, we're trying to get these guys in the best shape of their life, whatever that means to them. I have no doubt he's actually already is in the best shape of his life. Bigger, stronger, and what's remarkable about it is, think about all we talked about. What should be at most risk for him is that he let his body go, that he couldn't control his body fat, that he's not in basketball shape. Why would he be in basketball shape when he hasn't been able to play 5-on-5? And I think one of the great credits and what he deserves an amazing amount of respect for is the physical nature that he stayed in when you can't run. And, it's working with Coach Kett, but it's what you eat. It's being on the Ultra G. And one of the things that I would just ask Zach is, for people that go down with injuries, season-ending injuries, missed time, you're in non-weight bearing, you're in a cast, how did you do it? Because not only am I saying that now, if I would have talked about you a year ago or through all these periods of time, your ability to stay in great shape through all this is something you deserve a lot of credit for. And I believe that's going to win out in a lot of ways moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, the main thing was I never give up. As long as my foot's attached to my body, I'm going to find a way back on the court. So if I'm going to do that, if that's my plan, then I know I can't let myself get out of shape. Why waste time? I can't play basketball. Why let myself waste more time when I do get back, trying to get back in shape and all that? I'm going to do everything I can now so I have less to do later. And the biggest thing, I put so many miles on that stationary bike. I don't ever want to see one again, but
there's two ways of going on the stationary bike though, Adam, and I'll talk from my own experience. You can pedal and say, I did it, and it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of guys that can't run, that's what they do. This is boring, I hate it. It has nothing to do with basketball. I'm only doing it because people tell me to do it. I get a little sweat up, great, I'm done. If you ever watch this guy on a stationary bike, I could be up here on the 4th floor of Cintas looking down on the court. I can physically hear the bike, the sound of the bike, and I'm like, that can only be one person. But you went at it on the bike, too. It's not like you just put time in on the bike. You pushed yourself, your heart rate, sweat. You got yourself a great workout.
I don't think there's any reason to do something just to do it. If you're going to do something, give it your all. Do it to the best of your ability and get the most out of it. And that's what I try to do every time I did it. High resistance, high speed, as long as I could do it for. And, and I kept track of it in a notebook and just trying to get better at that each day.
Yeah. How about on the Ultra G? So people who don't know what it is.
It's if you don't know, you get hooked into these shorts that are attached to, I guess, this big bubble that keeps you within, I'm not a scientist, but you can't, you're in this bubble and they take the air out of the bubble or put more air into the bubble that make it so your body weighs less. So we'll make it 220 pounds. So if you're running at half body weight, you're running on 110 pounds. And so it's just so much less.
That's what your legs and your feet feel.
Feel.
You're on a treadmill as well. So it's a bubble,
you're running,
treadmill. Yeah.
Running on the treadmill with the bubble. And so it takes so much just weight off your body, but you can still get good like running. You can still run fast and whatnot. So yeah, we did a lot of that once it started healing a little more. Like the bike was when I couldn't do any weight on my foot and whatnot. And then we started running once we could put it up. And then, it's just gradually, I think we started at 60% and 65, 70, 75, all the way up to 100. And now we're at 100. So.
And again, Adam, if you ever watched Zach walk out of the weight room or the training room after he had done the Ultra G workout, again, there's a lot of people that run on the Ultra G and it can get your heart rate up. But if you just think about it, if you weigh 220, like he said, and your legs only feel 110 pounds, it's not as challenging as it is running without the bubble, right? So how do you get your heart rate up to that level, and how do you get a workout in like his? You got to push yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that behind the scenes, in some real dark days for somebody like Zach that can't play the game he loves, isn't a part of the team, even though he isn't. It doesn't ever feel like you're truly a part of things when you can't practice, travel, playing games. And he's putting this time and work in, And I think that's something that our fans, I want them to know just truly how much you've sacrificed, how hard you've worked to get back out there, for your final year in college.
Yeah.
Second is academically. And it's like, where are you at?
Well, I graduated. I got my undergrad in sports management, and I'm currently working to get my MBA right now.
Yeah, and again, I think that you'll leave here with your undergraduate degree, which you already have, and potentially MBA. Again, people talk about like take advantage of your extra year or like make your negative a positive. And you think about like academically when it all ends for you, where you're going to be at.
Oh, yeah.
Versus if everything was smooth on the court, who knows where you would have been at, right?
No. There's definitely always a silver lining with certain things. There's always a good part that comes out of something bad. But yeah, we did the math. I think like at the end of this year or at the end of next year, I guess, whenever the season ends and all that, I'll be like 2 classes short, so I'll just have to, take them online afterwards, and I'll get my MBA. So,
but think about it, to get his MBA and undergraduate through all that he's gone through. I mean, Zach, I give you a tremendous amount of credit, and as much as you're looking forward to being back on the court, I'm looking forward to you being back on the court, having you out there, but coaching you and really trying to make this the best year for all of us, but especially, the goal of seeing you be in March Madness, having a great senior year, both on the court and in the locker room as one of our leaders, and just, letting you go from start to finish. I mean, I think we all are like super excited to make it happen.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. So.
The Sean Miller Podcast is proud to partner with Xavier University's Williams College of Business, ranked the #1 online MBA in Ohio once again, and with nationally recognized concentrations in marketing, business analytics, entrepreneurship, and finance. The Xavier MBA advances your career. Classes are offered in part-time, full-time, online, and executive formats. Xavier alums receive a 25% tuition scholarship. Join Greater Cincinnati's largest MBA alumni network. Find out more at xavier.edu/MBA.
Welcome back here to the Sean Miller Podcast. Really interesting stuff. I think when you put it into perspective, Zach's entire career, these 6 years that he's had and what's still to come, it's pretty remarkable, everything that you've been through, everything that you've done. I know I speak for Coach and all the listeners when I thank you for coming on here and being so open and talking about this. We want to thank our sponsors, Deer Park Roofing, payroll partners, and our friends at TGE Solar. Coach, you got anything else for us?
Zach, somebody that's been in Cincinnati at Xavier for so long, what are your spots? Like, if you say, let me tell you what my hidden favorite restaurant or favorite go-to place for lunch, breakfast, a hidden gem in and around campus. Something you love about Cincinnati that maybe you didn't even know about a year or two ago. Anything stand out?
Well, I'll say my favorite restaurant out here is the Eagle. The Southern
in
food.
OTR?
In the OTR, yeah. They got some of the best fried chicken I've ever had. So I'd say that's probably my favorite place to go eat. It's lunch, dinner, doesn't matter. I'll go there whenever. And then other than that, I just say what surprised me about Cincinnati was just they have a good culture down here. You know, around the city, they got art around. It's a nice place to just go down, walk around. To see the bank, all that stuff. It's a nice place.
I've always felt this way, even when I was here a long, long time ago. The first time is at Xavier. You know, we talk about having the best of both worlds. You know, when you're on campus, you got a quiet private school where you have this beautiful building, the Cintas Center, right in the middle of campus, where I think you have everything you need to be successful. You can walk anywhere on campus. It's beautiful. It's isolated. If you want quiet, you want peace of mind, you have it here every day. But yet, sometimes, especially younger guys, working so hard, you know, you want to leave that and get some action and be able to do more than just what we have on campus. And we're located right in the city. Yeah. So, you know, you can go downtown. You talked about the banks, whether it's a restaurant or just see a different, you know, aspect of the world of life. Yeah. You know, you're not just relegated to this small college setting in a college town where you only have, the only thing we have is each other on campus. Here, it's the best of both worlds. If, hey, you want to go to the Eagle downtown and over the Rhine, you can get in a car and be there in literally 10 minutes, you know?
No,
so that's something that I've always felt good about for you guys, and I think all of us enjoy that.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great city, and I think Xavier's a great place, especially if you like to play basketball. So I'm very thankful for the situation.
Not too many people that I've been around, players, coaches, that love this game more than Zach. I've yet to meet someone that is wired like that. That love doesn't win out, and I think that all of us are, like we talked about a few minutes ago, eager to walk that path this year with him.
Yeah.
I also love the Eagles, Zach. Unfortunately, I don't have 4% body fat. So
Same.
No, but just couldn't thank you enough for coming on here and doing this. Can't wait to see what this season has in store for you, man.
All right, well, I thank y'all for having me.
This has been the Sean Miller Podcast, presented by Deer Park Roofing, with your hosts, Paul Fritchner and Adam Baum. Join us again soon for another episode with the head coach of the Xavier Musketeers, Sean Miller.
The Sean Miller Podcast is proud to partner with Deer Park Roofing, a company that's provided elite service for homes and businesses since 1996 and leads the industry in professionalism, quality, and responsiveness. Whether your needs are residential or commercial, like the outstanding work on the Cintas Center, the home of Xavier basketball, Deer Park can handle any job and ensure it's done right. Deer Park's motto is protect what's important, and what's important to you is important to Deer Park Roofing. Visit deerparkroofing.com.
How's the chicken?
Oh, the prawns are delicious.
Oh, I have a shellfish allergy.
One prawn, very good.
Did I say chicken wrong?
Tired of people not listening to what you want?
It's truffle season.
That's okay.
Never enough truffles.
How much are they?
It's a lot.
Oh, okay. I'm good. That.
It's like a priceless piece of art.
Enjoy.
Or when they sell you what they want?
Yeah.
The more we understand you, the better we can help you. That's what US Bank is for.
Huge relief.
Yeah.